Hello friends, welcome back for another chapter of Charlotte's Web. Yesterday we began our book by reading chapter 1 and I asked you to visualize the setting of the story. Listen for those sights, those sounds, the smells, what it felt like to be on the Arable farm. Today we're going to read chapter number 2, all about Wilbur. And again, I want you to listen for those visualizing effects that E.B. White does. Okay, she's going to paint a picture for you in your head. And it's a shorter chapter day, so what I would like for you to do when we're done with the chapter, I want you to do something. I want you to think about what is your favorite part that you listened to today. All right, here we go. Chapter number 2, Wilbur. Fern loved Wilbur more than anything. She loved to stroke him, to feed him, to put him to bed. Every morning, as soon as she got up, she warmed his milk, tied his bib on, and held the bottle for him. Every afternoon, when the school bus stopped in front of her house, she jumped out and ran to the kitchen to fix another bottle for him. She fed him again at supper time, and again before going to bed. Mrs. Arable gave him a feeding around noontime each day when Fern was away in school. Wow, that's 5 times he drinks milk during the day. No wonder pigs grow so fast. Wilbur loved his milk, and he was never happier than when Fern was warming up a bottle for him. He would stand and gaze up at her with adoring eyes. For the first few days of his life, Wilbur was allowed to live in a box near the stove in the kitchen. Then, when Mrs. Arable complained, he was moved to a bigger box in the woodshed. At 2 weeks of age, he was moved outdoors. It was apple blossom time, and the days were getting warmer. Mr. Arable fixed a small yard especially for Wilbur under the apple tree, and gave him a large wooden box full of straw, with a doorway cut in it so he could walk in and out as he pleased. "Won't he be cold at night?" asked Fern. "No," said her father. "You watch and see what he does." Carrying a bottle of milk, Fern sat down under the apple tree inside the yard. Wilbur ran to her, and she held the bottle for him while he sucked. When he had finished the last drop, he grunted and walked sleepily into the box. Fern peered through the door. Wilbur was poking the straw with his snout. In a short time, he had dug a tunnel in the straw. He crawled into the tunnel and disappeared from sight. Completely covered with straw, Fern was enchanted. It relieved her to know that her baby would sleep covered up and would stay warm. Try to visualize how that feels for Wilbur. Does it remind you when you go to bed at night, of how you crawl in your bed and you snuggle under all your warm covers and you fall asleep? That's kind of what Wilbur's doing. Every morning after breakfast, Wilbur walked out to the road with Fern and waited for her till the bus came. She would wave goodbye to him, and he would stand and watch the bus until it vanished around the turn. While Fern was in school, Wilbur was shut up inside the yard. But as soon as she got home in the afternoon, she would take him out and he would follow her around the place. If she went into the house, Wilbur went too. If she went upstairs, Wilbur would wait at the bottom step until she came down again. If she took her doll for a walk in the doll carriage, Wilbur followed along. Sometimes on these journeys, Wilbur would get tired, and Fern would pick him up and put him in the carriage alongside the doll. He liked this, and if he was very tired, he would close his eyes and go to sleep under the doll's blanket. He looked cute when his eyes were closed because his lashes were so long. Try to visualize that. Really long eyelashes. Pigs do have really long eyelashes. The doll would close her eyes too, and Fern would wheel the carriage very slowly and smoothly so as not to wake her infants. One warm afternoon, Fern and Avery put on bathing suits and went down to the brook for a swim. Wilbur tagged along at Fern's heels. When she waded into the brook, Wilbur waded in with her. He found the water quite cold, too cold for his liking. So while the children swam and played and splashed water at each other, Wilbur amused himself in the mud along the edge of the brook, where it was warm and moist and delightfully sticky and oozy. Every day was a happy day, and every night was peaceful. So there's a picture of Fern carrying Wilbur, or actually putting him in the doll stroller when she took her doll out for a walk and he got too tired. Wilbur was what farmers call a spring pig, which simply means that he was born in the springtime. When he was 5 weeks old, Mr. Arable said he was now big enough to sell and would have to be sold. Fern broke down and wept. But her father was firm about it. Wilbur's appetite has increased. He was beginning to eat scraps of food in addition to milk. Mr. Arable was not willing to provide for him any longer. He had already sold Wilbur's 10 brothers and sisters. He's got to go, Fern, he said. You have had your fun raising a baby pig, but Wilbur is not a baby any longer, and he has got to be sold. Call up the Zuckermans, suggested Mrs. Arable to Fern. Your Uncle Homer sometimes raises a pig, and if Wilbur goes there to live, you can walk down the road and visit him as often as you like. How much money should I ask for him? Fern wanted to know. Well, said her father, he's a runt. Tell your Uncle Homer you've got a pig you'll sell for $6 and see what he says. It was soon arranged. Fern phoned and got her Aunt Edith, and her Aunt Edith hollered for Uncle Homer, and Uncle Homer came in from the barn and talked to Fern. When he had heard that the price was only $6, he said he would buy the pig. Next day, Wilbur was taken from his home under the apple tree and went to live in a manure pile in the cellar of Zuckerman's barn. Now think about that. Wilbur is going to live in a manure pile. Now we know what manure is, but think about it from a pig's aspect, from his point of view. Might be an upgrade. All right, so let's do something at the end of the story, or at the end of the chapter, I should say. What was your favorite part? This is what I need you to say. My favorite part was, because, Remember, whenever you tell your favorite part, you also need to give a reason why. Like this. My favorite part was when Fern took her doll out for a ride in her baby stroller, and Wilbur would walk behind her. But when Wilbur got really tired and sleepy, Fern would pick him up and put him in the baby stroller. And then sometimes even Wilbur would fall asleep like the baby doll toy. That is my favorite part because I think it's very funny, but it is also a real life thing. Like Fern is treating Wilbur just like a baby child. She's feeding him with a bottle. She's making sure he's warm and cozy at bedtime. She's playing with him and taking him for a walk. She's even using people things like a doll stroller to push Wilbur around in. So that was my favorite part. What was yours? All right, next time we read together, we are going to read chapter 3, and it's called Escape. You might start to infer right now in your brain, what does that mean? I know what the word escape means, that something is going to get away or escape, run away. Is that going to happen with Wilbur? Is he going to run away because he doesn't like his new home? We'll find out next time.